Hey, this is Tom Calvin. Thanks for tuning in to Tomorrow's Legends.
You think you know the story. You've heard it 100 times. But this is not the tale that you know. For this part of the story has yet to be written. Join Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11 as they take the Waverider into the near future and check in on some old friends. This is the new adventures of Superman and Lois, as chronicled by Tomorrow's Legends.
Yes, hello Superfam, welcome back to Tomorrow's Legends. We are still in Smallville, following the new adventures of Superman and Lois, and this week we are on episode 11 of Season 1. Let me see if I can get this out right. A brief reminiscence in between cataclysmic events. I am the not tongue-tied Flash.
I'm Harley Quinn.
And I'm X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
And you know what? I think we found just the right intro music because of how epic this show is and the type of episodes we're getting. Our intro music just kind of kicks that off, that whole, whoa, something good is coming.
It does fit well, I agree.
Awesome stuff. Well, let's get into a little bit of a news report today.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So this is all about the episodes coming. We've been trying to keep you guys kept up with what's going on, but man, it's even confusing for us because they keep changing it. So what's happening, of course?
So, per the trailer at the end of the episode, Superman and Lois will return on July 13th, not the 27th, on the 13th for Through the Valley of Death. And from the promo, it looks like this is our John Diggle episode.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, so we have 4 episodes left in the season. Now, they can either air all 4 consecutive, finishing us up on August 3rd, or we will have breaks in there to finish up on August 17th. We've been tweeting everybody in the world and getting no answers. We would really like to know, and Harley would really like to know because she wants to be here for the season finale.
I know. I hope it ends up airing sooner. Then I can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but didn't they already announce the finale dates for all the shows? So why would they change that after they announced the finale date?
That's what worries me. That's what worries me.
I mean, I know Bitsy said something about, that this was another, holdout for because of COVID, and that they were, this week filming the season finale. So they've got to have time. But, so.
Yeah, if they're filming this week, it may be August 17th. I hear ya.
Well, all we know for sure is this the last one for a couple weeks, and then we'll come back July 13th.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, so we will have a podcast break from Superman and Lois. And okay.
And the next bit of news is I posted in our Facebook group an interview with Morgan Edge actor Adam Rayner, and he gave us some insight into his character. He talked about what a big Superman fanboy he was. One of the things I really liked is he said, I'm a little bit older than Tyler, so I really appreciated having the muscle suit and not having to do the big workouts. But it was a really good interview from TV Line, so check it out in the Facebook group.
It was pretty good. I like the part too because he absolutely loves Superman. He used to run around wearing red underwear on the outside of his pajamas, pretending to be Superman. So now the fact that he's playing one of Superman's biggest villains and gets to hurt him, he's like, oh, it's such an honor to get to even do this and a dream come true. I'm like, but you're hurting your favorite guy. What?
Oh, he's also his brother though, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I guess there's that too. Cool stuff. All right, well, let's get into our ratings for this episode. Ooh, have we hit a peak? Have we hit a new record here?
I don't know, but it was good stuff. I gave it 9.5 origin stories I didn't know I needed to see again.
Oh, yeah, so well put.
Yes, this took so much of the opening episode of the pilot and expanded it out, but it did in a way that made sense to the narrative of Edge's plans, but it also served to show us how the families, and the father specifically, can shape people in vastly different ways. Well done, writers, producers, and well done. You made an added episode to the order essential.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep, and I am right there with you. I am also giving this 9.5 times. I never want to hear the phrase Uncle Morgan again. That was super creepy, and I'm sticking with my 9.5s. I'm thinking that the last few episodes of the season are probably going to be where I inch up towards that 10. So, but this, I mean, all in all, this episode was extremely well done. I mean, based on the title and the trailer, I totally thought we were just getting like a flashback bottle episode. I didn't think it was going to be connected in any way. But halfway through, of course, they turn everything around, everything on its head, and we see it's not just a flashback episode. It's not even a flashback episode at all, really. Like, Edge is totally manipulating Clark's memories. He's trying to learn where he's most vulnerable, and I just thought it was brilliantly executed. It was extremely well done.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to do it, guys. I am laying down the first 10 of the season. A 10 absolute perfect writing is what I'm giving this one. And I just love this show. It's the best superhero TV show ever. And I'm talking about all the way back from the 70s. It's so good. Simple as that. And you're right, Harley. You had us all thinking it's going to just be kind of a filler flashback episode. And then, wham! How about an origin like you've never seen, and then turn that on its head and slap us upside the head with a reality check like Superman got, and holy crap, it left me speechless. And I'm going to save the rest for our discussion, because I could just go on a monologue for half an hour about how good this was. But
well, scanning through the notes, I think you're about to.
There's just nothing to dislike about this, nothing even really to complain about or to be frustrated. It was so good. I just think it deserves a 10. I mean, your guys' 9.5s, my 10. I don't think we have ever been this high, all of us, on an episode in any of our podcasts. That's why I say we've reached a peak that we've not gotten to before.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Well, let's get into it, since we all have a lot to say.
All right. Well, we're going to start with Clark this week.
Yes. Well, it seemed fitting to start with him, since the first half of the story took place in his brain. So it's time for our origin story. And you all know I love a good origin story. What I found neat is how they took some of the scenes that we'd already seen in earlier episodes and not only put them back in this episode, but then expanded the story to make everything just make a little bit more sense. And then we get to see some of those things that we probably didn't think, we were ever going to see, didn't realize we even needed to see. But the way that they did it, it just all flowed together so well and just gave us this awesome picture of their life together.
Yep.
Yeah, you're so right, Harley. I mean, this was the best origin ever for Clark's story, I think. It was a shorter version than, say, the movies show us, because the movies really, especially the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, the origin was the first quarter of the movie. But we all know it already. We know his origin story. So to just see this show's take on it was wonderful. And with how great this show's writing is, did we expect anything less anyway? And like you said, Harley, the way they wove in the premiere and brought it all full circle while we got to walk around that circle a little longer it was masterfully done, and just everything pieced together so perfectly, and these guys are on the ball. They remember what they've done before, and they come right back around to it. It's just, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, I got a bunch of points in a row here, so I'm just going to go through them one at a time, but you guys respond to them as I go through them, so it's not just me yakking for the next 10 minutes. So I want to bring up just a few things here, and I have a question here. Have we ever seen that he stayed at the fortress this long before, where he pretty much grows into a man? Because he left when he's a teenager, and then he comes back in his mid-20s. And I can't recall that we've ever noticed, or we've ever been shown that there's that length of time he's away at the fortress, maturing into Superman. I don't think there was, and to me it makes a great story and great sense, because he's learning, he's training, he's honing his abilities. It's not something that should happen overnight, because I think other stories have showed us, like, snap your fingers, boom, I'm Superman, here's my suit, and I can do everything now. I love that he had to train and perfect everything. So am I right in that, guys? We've never seen that time before?
Yeah, I don't know, at least in the movies, I don't remember at least them giving the impression that there was that much time. Maybe they did, but it does seem like he spent an extended time there. Now, maybe we got the impression that he was maybe back and forth more in other medias, where he was going and coming back during the time, but never, I don't believe we've seen him spend that much time there. But, we'll get corrected if we're wrong on that one.
Yeah, well, if anyone out there, I just don't recall seeing that visual representation that he's been gone long enough to have matured into a young man. So it was cool. Very, very good. Now, I loved the action shots of him running across the Arctic ice and then exploding into the sky for his first flight. Oh, it was so dang cool to see. And then Tyler just playing this excited young man was so awesome. He was exactly how we would be. He's whoa as he's flying around. Like, it's just, it's so cool, so cool. But I'm going to rip on Flash here for a second, because I want the Flash special effects people to take notice. The way that Superman did it here, of showing him running at high speed, that is how you do high speed running. That's how you make it look realistic. And when he was a teenager and he's running around, and then when it transitioned to suddenly Tyler running, it actually looked like they were running at high velocity. The steps matched their movement, the way their arms and legs were moving, everything kept on pace. It looked smooth and fluid, like they actually were running, and the camera was picking it up in slow motion frame or something. And why I say I want to harp on Flash, because I've always hated how Flash does his running. You can tell that Grant Gustin is just standing in one place and fake running. It looks awful, it looks cheesy, and they've never ever changed it. It's always the same thing. You even seen, there's even background footage you can find out there on YouTube where he is just standing there, shaking his arms around. I'm like, that's why it doesn't look realistic, and it's just, it's way off pace. And to me, that's such a shame, because running is his superpower, and if you can't even do that right, then what's the point of having a Flash TV show? Like, fix the running. And then look at what Superman did here. It was absolutely perfect. It looked realistic, like he was there running, and I just wanted to say that.
All right.
Props to the effects team. Really.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah. Now, I also loved hearing this Jor-El's version of how Superman's powers work, because most of us know, we understand that he absorbs power from the sun, but he went into more detail this time for a lot of the listeners and people that maybe didn't quite understand. Now he absorbs the sun's radiation and converts it to energy differently than humans do. And when he goes on and explains, I'm like, you know what? That's good superhero science. It actually is believable. And it's not just, the sun makes him strong. They actually went into scientific detail that makes believable sense. And I thought that was really cool. For anyone out there that didn't quite get it yet, I think they should now.
Yeah, if you were completely unfamiliar with Superman, I would say, now you definitely got it, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So that was just a couple points I really wanted to touch on, because good stuff. This episode was just, and I'm surprised, like, its running time was only 41 minutes, and it felt like at least an hour. I was so surprised.
It was really well done. Yeah, they packed a lot in. people haven't figured out by now, we're just going kind of point by point through some of the cooler things that we liked from the flashbacks. So the next point that I have here was I just thought it was interesting to note that Clark was like so excited to get back to Smallville because he wanted to see Lana. And we see that she's moved on, which is not surprising because, it seems it's been a while that he's been gone. He looks like a totally different person. Amazing how TV works that way.
Yeah. Well, I like quite a few years have passed, and I think we come around to that in the next point. But I found it really interesting that she really was his first love because he was so excited to get to see her again. And so happy. And when he saw Kyle run up and kiss her, the look of disappointment on his face, my heart broke for him. Like, oh, man, like he's been waiting to come back and profess his love and whatever, maybe tell her everything. And it just like, oh, that was a gut punch. Like, poor guy. But, I mean, of course, it allows him to be free for Lois later on. But still, it was. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
So when we see Clark seeing them there at the movie marquee, it gives us a hint into the year because the two movies are the first Harry Potter movie and Friday Night Lights were circa 2004. So that kind of gives us a marker of when he returned to Smallville.
So that adds up to roughly 6 years that he was gone. So pretty. I mean, that's a good chunk of time. And yeah, I mean, they did as well as they could with casting the younger version of himself, so he did change quite a bit. But I thought they did a great job making Tyler look younger than he is currently. Like right now, he looks like he's in his 30s, maybe early 40s, and I know that comes around later too. But they de-aged him a bit, just with his hairstyle being a bit different, his skin being super smooth, no stubble, and he just had this youngness about his look. And there was a couple moments here that I swear he had a Christopher Reeve vibe about him. Which it was just very, very cool. He had this really young, authentic, Chris Reeve look. I was like, whoa, he is really pulling that off. That is amazing.
I definitely think they leave stubble on him to make him look older than he actually is. He's definitely, I think, a young 30s for sure.
Yeah. Well, go on to your next point. I'm going to look up what Tyler Hoechlin's actual age is. I'm not sure.
I think he's close. I think he's close-ish in age to me. But, anyways, my next point that I wanted to bring up was when Martha presents Clark with the super suit, and I think also the glasses. She has this whole trunk of stuff, which was very cool. But you only kind of like see the glasses as she like pans over to get out the suit, and then they have this really cool scene. And then the next time you see them, he's in Metropolis with them on. So I just thought that was kind of cool that she had kind of like collected all these things, and I guess he takes it with him, or I don't know. But it was a touching scene either way.
Yeah, and I love the fact that she saw the suit and this version of Clark in a vision.
Yeah.
And so that's really neat, whether Jarrell sent that to her or what, but that was a neat touch.
So he's only 34.
Yeah, he's a few years.
He was born in 87. Yeah, crazy. So yeah, the mom made his suit. The very first Superman suit. I love that they did that because that's been part of his mythos and history for 75 years Superman's been around now. So I love that they really brought in the right connections to his story that everybody knows so well and just loves. Because not every iteration of the Superman story did that she made his first suit. And I just love that they brought it back because it's such a sweet thing. And then, of course, we got to see that scene again when he saves the kid. And he's like, cool suit. Thanks. My mom made it. He's like, oh, my God. He is such a giddy little Boy Scout. It's priceless. I love Tyler's performance.
Yeah, I love the way that he plays Clark, because we had seen that scene before, but one of the things that they did was they really expanded on his life in Metropolis, and so we get to see all of the things that they've been alluding to. We get to see how he meets Lois. We get to see how they fall in love. And I think Tyler and Bitsy like seriously have such great chemistry. And it was just so great, like just like watching these scenes. These were definitely the parts of the story that I just got completely sucked into. And no matter how many times I watch it, I was like, I don't know how to take notes on this. I'm just going to watch it.
I'm so with you there, Harley. These are some of my favorite moments from this episode, and probably for the whole series so far. I mean, just getting to see their awkward beginning, the development of their teamwork, the partnership at the planet, investigating stories as a pair, and then into the late nights, and Lois starts to flirt with him. I loved seeing all of that, and it's just so cool that she's the one that starts the romance, and it was so believable. Like you were saying, the chemistry is unreal with these two. Well, I should say it's actually really real with these two. It just and then that they did that kiss in the clouds, which is another iconic Superman scene, which we haven't seen since the movie with Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder. So the fact that they did that again, it's just so much nostalgic love here. And like you, I was so sucked in. My little romantic heart was just melting like crazy on this episode. Oh.
Yeah, I agree. And I really appreciate how Clark is tied to Smallville. His mission is a world, but Smallville is where he learns his humanity. So it makes perfect sense that that's where he wants to reveal his secret to Lois, and they start their lives there with their marriage ceremony being there and so much more. So I really appreciated making Smallville a tie that they would want to come back to.
Mm-hmm.
It's a totally good point there, X-Force. For the story, it just fits that he would bring her back to Smallville for the big moments in their life. And I mean, I'm such a sucker for a good romance, and it just all. I was just going, too many times this episode, and I just, I mean, yes, we saw some of the scenes again, but like Harley said earlier, they expanded every one. Every little moment we got to re-see, they expanded the before moments and the after moments of the scene we already saw, and it just filled everything even more, and it just made this quote unquote flashback just absolutely magical.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next point that I love, again, another iconic Superman scene, is the change in the phone booth. Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've even saw that. I don't think Smallville ever did the phone booth change because Clark never changed into a suit.
He never wore the suit.
Yeah, I mean, they called him the Red Blue Blur. He had that red leather jacket and stuff, but I don't remember if we've seen the phone booth change since the movie. So again, it's part of Superman's legacy, and the fact that they bring all these little things back is just so fun to see. And that just warms us up as fans, because we were all just excited. Oh my God, they did that! And yeah, just fun. And I love when he comes out of the phone booth and the women are all running out. Did you see that? See what? And she's explaining it to him, and he's just playing dumb, and it's fun. It's all fun.
Very funny. Very funny. So another tidbit that we got to learn, this was during his interview with Lois, his TV interview, is that he can speak all of Earth's languages, which I was like, wait, what? I wasn't entirely sure that I was like, I guess, buying like that was possible in his short life, but it is still very cool that they're, I guess, giving him the ability to do that. So
yeah, I think it really shows how dedicated to be a part of his new home he is, and who knows, super learning / memory may help. We don't know that he's like, he says he's studied. We don't know that he knows it, but it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I would assume or guess that his brain is supercharged somehow as well. Maybe it just works a little faster. I don't know. I mean, they've never explained. This is kind of new as well. We've never seen Superman knowing languages before. I don't think I've ever seen Superman speak another language. So that's just a new crinkle they're adding to his mythos, and I think it's great. And like you said, Jeff, he's dedicated to helping the world, so I think he needs to be able to communicate wherever he goes, or else he's not going to know what they need when he gets there. So he needs to understand. So, I mean, people do know a lot of languages. I work with a guy right now who speaks 8 languages fluently.
Wow.
And that blows me away. I mean, they're all very similar, but he's from Afghanistan. He speaks Afghanistan. He speaks Indian. He speaks Pakistan. He speaks French, English. It's crazy. When you hear him switch between them, it's like, how does your brain operate like that? So,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll expand on that somewhere down the line. Who knows? Maybe not. It's just a fun little thing.
Neat tidbit either way.
Yeah.
So looking at things, we see the events of this timeline and how they happen in this world, and it's all post-crisis. But it's still surprising to me that there's no mention of Crisis, no memories shown of Crisis. I just wish they would address things one way or the other so we know how the show fits in the Arrowverse. I mean, I know we're getting dig, so maybe, but I just want some answers of give me the pocket that this fits in, or it doesn't fit in a pocket so that we can move on.
It's the Diggle in the room.
Well, I think you're right. Diggle might bring that answer, and it would be nice to know. But I have this feeling we're supposed to remember that the Crisis erased everything, and everything's starting new, so that nobody will remember anything except the Paragons from the Crisis. So I think that's what they're banking on, is that if this is all brand new, you don't have to remember anything about the Crisis. And when I started thinking about it, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and I was talking about it. I go, with how good Superman is and how disappointing we are with the other shows right now, I'm almost starting to think that I maybe don't want this to be part of the Arrowverse right now, because it's just too darn good, and the other shows would kind of bring it down. And I was talking to Arcphase, and he had this idea. He's like, this whole thing with Superman right now, when he's turning evil and he's going to go fight, this is a perfect opportunity to have another crossover with all the shows. And I was like, yes, but you know what? They couldn't even stop Supergirl in practice at one of the crossovers. Like they were just training in the warehouse, and none of them could even stop Supergirl. So the fact that they would come to try to fight Superman, I'm like, it'd be useless anyway. But but I was just thinking, no, you know what? I think if it mixed in with the other shows, it might bring it down a little bit, and I don't want it to bring it down. I'm really enjoying where it is, and it's separate, and I'm starting to feel that. I watch the other shows as the other shows. They're the Arrowverse. This is Superman and Lois, and it's starting to feel. It's actually separating itself because it's so much better.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, but let's get that answer at least.
Yeah.
Why does nobody remember?
Yeah.
But
so next point here is some speculation. And say Clark leaves Smallville after he graduates at 18, per his yearbook, that's 98, and he returns in 04. So if he was not 18 and 98, that would have made him 41 in present day. We also find out that Edge is 19 when he founded his fortress in 1987, and that would make him 53 in present day. So we've got a kind of a difference in the age between these two.
Yeah, and
There we go.
Wouldn't say that's speculation at all. I think you nailed it, X-Force. Bang on, because that makes total sense. 41 is a good age to be having two teenagers by then, and have been Superman for years before that already. And Edge does look older with some gray hair, so 53 makes sense as well. So if they got that 12-year gap, it's perfectly. I think everything is spaced out the way it should be, and it's really cool. I mean, he looks 41. He may be 35 in real life. He can pass for anywhere between 35 and 41. I think it's suitable. I mean, the ages these days are so much different than they were when we were kids, and we looked at our parents when our parents were 30 and 40. People have changed. I mean, we're eating better. Lifestyles have changed. We're not aging physically as fast as they used to. So I think 41 is perfectly good for where he's at in the storyline.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense, for sure. All right, well, I think we've covered most of the things that we all wanted to talk about as his origin story. This is kind of the point in the episode where we're going to talk about like diverging things a little bit before we jump into other characters to finish out the show. So again, I thought using his memories was just an extremely cool narrative device. I just love the way that they ended up doing this. And we do see hints that something is wrong at points throughout the episode, but I hadn't actually guessed that Edge was manipulating his memories to learn more about his past and his family. That's what was so cool to me, was that reveal at the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, it was such a masterstroke in writing that I never saw coming. And then to use the premiere and an origin as a prelude to the reality of what's happening, like you said already, just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. They could have done, explained it a million different ways, and they did it, just like I said in the beginning, that in a way that just made it feel perfect in the narrative. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was pretty great. And I mean, to cover just the couple moments where we get hints that something is wrong. I mean, this is at the very end of the sequence. We see Jor-El actually break character, and he's kind of trying to get him to wake up. Like he's breaking something out of the memory. And then this is the point when we start jumping through his memories, and Clark kind of is starting to learn more about what's going on.
Yeah, but when Jor-El breaks character and he says, "Wake up, get out of here now," that was such a WTF moment right there. And I think the look on my face was probably the same as the look on Clark's face, just like what the seriously? Oh yeah, just completely, because it took us right out of the moment. We're in this nice little moment of him reminiscing about his dad, and then boom, like, geez, what is happening?
It's definitely jarring, and it definitely wakes you up. But for those who are paying attention, before this point happens, we do see a shadowy figure twice in the flashbacks, and we find out that it's Morgan Edge.
Yeah, and was it only twice? I thought for some reason there maybe was a third time. Was it just two?
I only caught two. That doesn't mean there wasn't a third.
Okay, but even still, I mean, it was so creepy because very ghost-like. So I was thinking, at that moment in time, I was thinking we're still in flashback mode. We're watching the origin story, not thinking we're in his memories at all, and somewhere during his origin story, he was getting glimpses of a ghost character, somebody that can camouflage, somebody that can be invisible, but because Superman's eyesight is so good, like we saw in the movie, he can even see the Flash running. His eyesight is so good, he's picking up on something there, and I was like, oh, who's that gonna turn out to be in the future? Like, somebody's been watching him through his entire life, right? That's what I thought it was. Like, there's been a watcher through his whole lifetime, and I'm thinking, oh, who's that gonna be? But, ends up being Morgan Edge. And that one in the hospital when they were getting the ultrasound, that was spooky as hell, because it was looking at him through the glass window of the thing, and I got like horror movie vibes, like, ooh. I had no idea what was going on. I even at one point thought maybe he was dying somehow. Like, once I got past or got into the idea that we're seeing more than an origin story, I thought, is he dying and this is some type of spirit coming for him? I just had no idea, or was his memories being corrupted somehow, and he could see things that weren't there before? I don't know. It messed me up, and it was just fascinating. I mean, that really shook us, because we were caught up in the origin story, and it just shook us right out of that.
Yeah.
So, what is going on? Again, more masterful writing to really throw a wrench at our heads.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, well, that finally takes us to the end of Clark. And through most of the...
don't say it like that.
Anyways, we'll get to that later. I have a few points on Lois that are also in the flashbacky section. For the technical term is what I'm calling it, flashbacky.
Flashbacky.
So, first point. I loved seeing Lois showing Clark the ropes, and I loved how that was how they slowly started to kind of fall for each other. And I loved the scene again, back to the interview, that she admits she's in love with Clark in front of Superman, not knowing at all who he is. And I'm wondering if this was the spying incident that she referred to in past episodes.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. That's a good point. I don't know, or maybe it was something else.
Yeah.
But that could be a good one. But I do love. It was so cool that her producer, totally saw Superman was attracted to her, and Lois is just so oblivious because she's in love with Clark. I love that. Love that.
I totally agree. I mean, with Harley's comments first, Clark came first, and I love that. And I'm not sure that it was like that before in other iterations. I think even in the movies, she was kind of falling for Superman first. So this, I think, is a little bit of a different twist, which I just think is fantastic. And those moments of them working together and the chemistry growing and leading up to the flirting and the dating, it's just so magical to watch. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. And then, like you said, Jeff, that scene was funny. I was trying to tell what his reaction meant, because he looked like he was kind of smiling to himself, but then he looked like he was a little disappointed. And then he started laughing about himself. I don't know. He kind of went through a few emotions there. So I was wondering what's he feeling right now. Is he happy that Lois is in love with him as Clark and doesn't care about Superman, or does that bother him? I couldn't tell for a minute there.
I don't know, but I liked that they sort of turned that around. It's predictable for her to fall in love with Superman. Who wouldn't fall in love with Superman?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I loved
exactly.
that.
Well, I mean, if Wonder Woman showed up in front of me, I'd be the same thing. Like,
Same. Or Donna Troy for me.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
Now, before we go away from that whole interview scene, have we seen that before? I saw a lot of fans on our Facebook page going, "Oh, it's the interview on TV." Oh, and I couldn't remember, where was that shown before? Do you guys remember? Was that something we had seen, or is that a comic book connection?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
So. My gut instinct is, if it's not straight out of the comic books, that perhaps it was in was it the New Adventures of Lois and Clark, the 90s show? Because if it was from the movies, I feel like one of us would remember.
Well, that's the thing, is this episode was pulling from the original movie so much, so I have a feeling it might have been there.
Oh, maybe it wasn't.
I'll
honestly
have a look
know.
while you guys are talking. I'll look that up and just see, because I'm curious.
That sounds good. All right, so I have one more point. Just the other big scene with her in the flashbacks was when, and I'm going to let Jeff fill us all in here, because I just called him the villain in the metal mask because I didn't know who he was. I loved seeing her take him down. I mean, yes, like Superman was there and he saved her and he saved all of the people, but she's the one who took down the villain. And I was like, yes, go, Lois.
Yeah. The villain's name is called Atom Man, and Heinrich Milk, a.k.a. Henry Miller here, who was a Nazi empowered by kryptonite in his bloodstream. And there's a couple different versions. Version 2 of Atom Man was actually an alias for Lex Luthor. And at that time, he was bald, but he was more stocky, kind of like the guy we see here. But yeah, I absolutely loved. They have been turning about, saving each other from the very start. So I absolutely loved it.
So fun. Like you said, right from early on, she stood in to help, and that's carried through their entire life. So I thought that was really, really cool to see. Like, she's just not scared. She just jumps in there with the little electrical, what do they call those things? The zappers? Tasers, that's the word, yeah. Okay, so pause for 1 second. I did look up the interview scene, and it actually is a running thing through all Supermen. So in the original movie, Lois Lane invites Superman to her rooftop apartment, Margot Kidder, and they sit down to dinner and interviews him. There, it's a one-on-one private interview that she's getting for the newspaper. And then they do it again in Superman Returns with Brandon Routh. She interviews him on the rooftop of a building.
Okay.
And then they also do it with Henry Cavill, except it looks like some type of, like a police, because Superman's in handcuffs, so this is when they take him into custody. So it looks like he's at the police station, and she's interviewing him in the chambers where they try to talk to suspects. So it has been an ongoing thing through all iterations. So this is just their version of it.
Yeah.
The interview.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, back to our scene. I loved the little bonus that we see she's the one to name him Superman.
I love that moment. It makes sense being who Lois Lane is. She's the big news reporter. She's the one who breaks all the big stories. And I think the original Superman movie also had Lois name him as well. I think there was a scene where actually I think it was very similar, where he he flies off to the sky after saving somebody, and as everyone asks, who was that? She says, that was Superman. I think it was very similar. So, again, man, it's just so cool that they're bringing all these little moments back and doing their own versions of it. It's very fun.
Very fun.
So, not much for Jonathan in this episode, other than watching his brother with Sarah and get to kind of pick on him and stuff. And then he gets scared out of his mind when Edge arrives at their home. So I don't blame him for that. But really, that was it for John this episode.
Yeah, but he did a lot of heavy lifting in the last couple of episodes as far as his storyline and his acting goes, and the way the actor Jordan really, you could tell the weight in that little scene, that just the strength there. So not a whole lot acting wise, but he's been doing a lot in the last couple episodes.
For sure. Yeah, I deserve a break.
Yeah. Plus, he's outgunned. I mean, you have Morgan Edge land like Superman, and what's he going to do? He just saw his brother get blown away, so it's like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm out of my league here.
Yeah. So Jordan and Sarah are finally out of the friend zone, and I do like it after the ride home where Lois says that she and Clark are going to have to have a little chit chat with him about expectations now that he has a girlfriend. I just really love that little touch.
That actually happened way faster than I thought it would. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't expecting, like, literally in this episode. I thought they would drag it out throughout the rest of the season. The whole will they, won't they? But nope, they just went for it. Mm-hmm. My next question is, do we think he's going to decide to trust her with his real secret?
Yeah, it is the question. But back to your timing thing, I think I'm okay with the timing, because if you look at the situation, they've just been through a lot together.
Yeah. And
sometimes you just feel it, and she did, like you just said. She went for it, because there's so much emotion, there's so much trauma, there's so much going on, you're just like, I gotta kiss you. And she did. And will he tell her? I don't know. I have a feeling if he wants to tell her, he's going to, because of how we've seen the Kents be, he's going to ask his family if he should or can he first. I would imagine, because I don't know if he's going to want to go against his family just to tell her. I'm not sure.
I don't know, unless John just tells her.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It could be one of these things where we get into some type of situation and he has to protect her, and so it comes out that way.
It might be revealed. Yeah.
Yeah. So, who knows?
But you did see that scene when she was talking about secrets and stuff like that. You saw how Jordan and John looked at each other when she was talking about that. They kind of had this guilty look to them, like, yeah, you think our family's so honest, we're not being honest with you right now. Yeah. They just had that look.
Yeah, they definitely did. She may eventually just pick up on what they're putting down or not putting down. But
she might pick it up for them, right?
Yeah, because they keep giving each other looks. You're right. They're going to give it away eventually.
So, but I like the idea that it'll be revealed. He might have to save her somewhere along the lines, and she's just going to be like, wait a second.
That would be cool.
Which could be fun, because we saw that's how Lois has found out in many iterations of Superman. Is like in the original movie, I think it was Superman 2, when they're on their honeymoon at Niagara Falls. He falls in the fire, and she sees it in the fireplace, and he jumps up, and he's trying to fake that he's burned. She's like, wait a sec, give me your hands, and there's no marks at all, and that's when she knows. So they might do that with Jordan, which would be kind of cool.
Well, we'll see. The last point I have here about Jordan, which we sort of started to talk about, was that he stands up to Edge, which I thought was very bold, considering that he's only half Kryptonian. He's untrained, and he's gonna take on a full Kryptonian adult. I mean, kudos for standing up for your family, but that was a battle he was never gonna win.
Yeah, agreed. But the boys have been standing up for their family and friends, and that example has been shown to them their whole lives. So it's one of those things where it's just built into them. It's been nurtured into them.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree, and I love that they do that. But I think Jordan also gained a lot of confidence from playing football. And
oh, true.
Yeah, so I thought maybe I thought he thought that his powers might help here because like you said, it's his mom. He had to. That's the way they've been raised. That's the example their dad and Lois have given to them their whole lives. So he just had to. It's his mom, and he didn't know how much he could probably. He probably thought he could equal. He's like, well, I got the same powers as Dad. I can take them, but obviously not. Now, what I'm wondering if Edge will come back for him because now Edge knows he's got powers. Edge didn't know that Superman had a superpowered kid. So I wonder if Edge will come back around to getting his kid as well.
Yeah, I don't know, but I can definitely see that.
Yeah, that was definitely a wrinkle he had not found out about. But he knows now.
Wasn't that scary? If we go backwards in the episode a little bit, when Superman first wakes up, or just as he's waking up, he's going, he knows everything, and you could see how scared Superman was that Edge now found everything out about him, and that made me feel so worried for the family as a whole. Like, oh man, not good.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, indeed. So moving on to the Cushings. So the Cushing family are the only ones in town that know the full truth about Edge's plan.
I thought this was a nice detail. I kind of liked that there's, at the moment anyway, steering away from Flash's true desire to see the family torn apart. Since you were pretty down on that last episode. But anyways, no, I'm just teasing. But I actually kind of think it would be cool to see them form almost like a little mini council between the two families as they're trying to take down Edge, since they're the only ones that are kind of in the know. I don't know. Could be interesting.
You make me sound so sadistic, Harley.
You made yourself sound it last week. I just listened to that episode today.
But now that a week's gone by, and after watching this, I mean, I think I more meant that it would just add more depth to the drama and make things more believable. That's what I was trying to get at. But
I know.
Here, this episode, the writers worked their magic to make it okay, and I'm okay that tragedy isn't going to strike for them, and maybe it still will. Who knows? But I love how Kyle has to now man up and make things right. So they wrote it properly. That made me feel okay about the quote unquote quick solution to what happened that last episode. So, yeah.
Cool.
Now, that's also a good idea, Harley, because I bet Kyle does something like that to make amends with the town, talking about your, trying to be a town council of sorts. I bet you Kyle might come up with something like that to make up for, because he thinks the town hates him right now, and he's going to feel like he has to do something, and maybe building a little committee or a little council of sorts to help everyone work through it. That might be his way of getting back in the good graces of everybody, if he even is out of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Could be. I really appreciate that this episode kind of contrasts the difference between Clark and Morgan Edge, but in the conversation that the boys have with Sarah, we see the contrast there between the Kents and the Cushing families when it comes to telling the truth and not having secrets.
Secrets amongst themselves, but they keep secrets from everybody else, which we're happy with because they're not telling everybody, which is cool. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I like the way you put that, but it's cool. All right. Well, Sam Lane, not in this episode, so we're skipping him.
All right. Yeah. Not even a mention or an appearance. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. I have a feeling he will be back through the end of the season, though.
Oh yeah.
But the next person we have that I actually feel like we can mention, even though you do tend to bring him up every week, is John Henry Irons. So Irons will be back. I'm assuming, this is not a spoiler, but based on the phone call, I'm assuming he will be back next episode, and hopefully he's going to have a plan to save Superman instead of killing Superman.
Well, yeah, so which Irons is going to come back? Is it going to be the I told you so version, or is it going to be, well, I've had some time to think, and you're right, I'm here to help? That version. Which one is coming back?
a little bit of both. I just hope he doesn't try to kill him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably a little bit of both. But I definitely see he's going to see the heartbreak there and the need there, but hopefully he's also learned the strength of the family and seen that mirrored and knows what he's missing, and so that's going to temper the steel, so to speak.
Well done.
so that he doesn't completely take out Superman. So we'll
Well,
see.
let's tie him in with Sam Lane because they worked together. It's only because of Irons that Sam Lane has the weapons that he has.
Yeah.
In that little bunker or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and then let's predict, like, will Sam Lane come into it with all of his untested kryptonite weapons, because we saw that they did work. So is he just going to be like, to hell with it? We have no time. I'm bringing all of these. They're both coming back. They have to. Now, are they going to work together? Are they going to be on the side of saving Superman or saying, nope, we've got to stop him? I mean, that's what's coming.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see.
certainly will.
Totally.
All right, we've been talking about him all episode long. It's time to deep dive into Morgan Edge.
Wait a sec.
So
Just for
we
Harley. Uncle Morgan Edge.
Oh.
Oh, boo,
Uncle Morgan.
boo. But anyway, so we find out that Edge, 19 per IMDb, because it says 19-year-old Edge, when he built his fortress in 87, and his father is there to teach him lessons, and the first lesson is pain.
Oh.
And here we see the huge contrast between Clark and Edge because of their fathers and what makes them so different.
Oh, different. But I loved, like, even down to the little detail that his fortress is in the desert and Clark's is in the Arctic. I loved that.
Yeah.
But his Kryptonian father, man, I see why the mother left him. He was very sadistic, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like you said, X-Force, his first lesson was pain. It was like how to withstand pain and use that. I mean, and like you were saying earlier, his dad is nasty. Like, no wonder Edge turned out the way he did. It wasn't just the treatment from the humans. It was his dad also abusing him and training him like somebody would whip a dog. And it's just like beat him into submission kind of thing. And I'm like, God, no wonder he is the way he is and has no remorse or concern for anybody. It's awful. So this is one bad guy. I don't know if we can have a retribution story arc. They might have to end him because of how far gone he already is. So. But like you were saying, I love the contrast of the fortresses, Arctic versus desert, cold versus hot. And I mean, both very hidden and off the beaten path. But I'm wondering, wouldn't the desert sun be more intense and more direct, thus making Edge maybe actually a bit stronger than Superman because of the type of sun he's been absorbing? Because the sun is not very strong in the Arctic. It doesn't, and it's not even up there very long either, if you think about it. Half the year it's complete darkness, so...
Yeah, that's true. That's what I was thinking about when I watched the second time. I'm like, yeah, you get 24 hours of sun during the summer, but a lot of that is winter when the sun doesn't even come over the horizon. And then in the desert, you've got the intense sun.
Yeah.
So that could be.
Good thing he can fly and spends a lot of time in Smallville.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So we've talked about this, but Edge is using Kryptonian tech to scan through Clark's mind and is going to use his family against him to force him to join him, and using the secret of Superman having a family, and that was just such a gut punch.
Like we said, I think we speculated here that we were talking about how his family is his true weakness. It's not kryptonite; it's his family, and if anyone can find that, like Edge does, and exploit it, and that's what he was looking for in his mind. But I mean, talk about being nasty and not giving a damn. He flew to Smallville to kill Clark's family just like that. no hesitation, no nothing. I'm going there and I'm killing, because he even blames Lois. He says it's all your fault. You're the reason he is the way he was, and he abandoned his only brother and blah blah. And I'm like, whoa, he is pissed off, and he's just gonna go on a killing spree right now. Like, it's a good thing Clark showed up when he did. Yeah. Holy, but Superman is not strong enough yet because he just woke up from absorbing enough energy to wake up, and then he wakes up to find out that he's been in this mental device reading his mind. So he's still really weak, and we see Edge just beat him to a pulp in the fortress. I mean, repetitively punching him and
trash.
And trash the fortress too. And so I mean, Superman is in really, really rough shape. So when he does show up to try to save his family, he barely got there, and Edge is at full strength. So it's just like, wow, this is a fight he can't win right now.
Nope, he sure can't. And I think this was probably, oddly enough, one of the most shocking scenes of the episode, when Morgan Edge tells him he's going to make him suffer, and then he kills Jor-El. He crushes the crystal. So that means Jor-El is gone, right?
Could be. I mean, this is hard because we saw Jor-El in the flashbacks early in the season, and then seeing him in these flashbacks, he seems much more relatable, much more friendly, and so it draws that tie to us to appreciate who he is, and the character is more fleshed out to give a great contrast to Tal-Rho, and then boom, he's gone. I was like, oh.
And the last line, as he's fading out, he says, "I love you, son." Oh man, pulling on the heartstrings. Like, once again, this show is going to areas that none other has. They're killing Jor-El. This is another part in the Superman story that we have never seen. We never got to. This is all brand new territory, and it's such a risky and bold new direction for the Superman story. And like you asked, Jess, is he gone? Is this the last we're ever going to see of him? Because I mean, Edge crushed the crystal, and that crystal was holding his consciousness. Unless they do some weird thing where Superman can use his heat vision and melt the crystal back together, I just don't know. I have a feeling they are risking that by saying this is the last you're going to see of Jor-El, and that,
it's crazy.
Unless Flash shows up and goes back in time and changes everything.
Distinctly possible.
But still, it's a bold move and a shocking one, and just really another gut punch that, jeez.
I know.
I love you, son. Oh my God. Breaking my heart.
It does. All right, well, let's get down to the shocking end of the episode. Although I think I was more shocked that Edge killed Jor-El. But here's the deal. I'm going to lay this out. So I think I was sort of right. It looks to me like they're infusing Kal-El with another consciousness. Is that kind of like what that was all about? Is this what you guys are taking away from it? Because if so, like, I mean, he's basically turned because they've implanted another consciousness into him and effectively, at least at this point, or have erased Kal-El. So that's how they kind of like turn him, because he says he's going to submit or something. So is that what you guys are taking away from all of this?
Yeah, I think that may be the plan, because Edge asked Kal to willingly
and that's part
submit.
of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And however, I don't think it's going to hold, because Kal is too committed to his family and to humanity. And it may take John Henry, Lois, and the boys to snap him out of it, though, because it's not going to be easy. It is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
No, and that was my first guess exactly. Now, what was that machine? It's not the extractor. What was that thing called? The Eradicator. I keep putting extractor in the notes here, but my first guess was exactly that Zeta asks if he got the machine, and then they put it into that wall, which was the desert fortress computer thing, and they immediately start blasting him with the same orangey red energy that was in the tube that they used on the humans. And it's hurting him just like it's hurting the people because he's getting infused with all the stuff. And then we saw that little burning inside his head. Mm-hmm. So you know something is changing in there. Something's going on. And, you know, just like earlier when we saw the humans that weren't quite stable from the process, their heads started glowing red before they exploded. Mm. So I totally think that he just got taken over by some type of soul or by some Kryptonian. Now, the big question is which one, and we'll come back to that in a second. But this was fascinating. I actually got into a huge argument with Arcphase at work today, or sorry, yesterday. Like, I mean, argument. He was irate and yelling at me, and I got into a yelling match. It was crazy over Superman here, because he would absolutely not accept that they were infusing a soul into Superman here. He completely thinks it's a red kryptonite beam, and they're just hurting him. They're trying to teach him the pain lesson. And I couldn't understand that. It couldn't make sense. I'm like, Arcphase, they're giving you all of the answers right there. First they ask, you have to submit. That's rule number one. If you're more submissive, then the process happens a lot easier, or it gels a lot better. Number two, they say, do you have the what was it called again?
Eradicator.
Not the extractor. Do you have the eradicator? Yes, I do. Here it is. Whoop, put it in the computer. Boom. They'll start firing the beam, and it looked exactly the same. So I couldn't understand, and that's what made me upset. I'm like, how do you not see this? All the clues are right there in front of you. And he's like, no, it's red kryptonite. Oh, holy crap, okay. But what was I going to say? That because then I looked up red kryptonite, and red kryptonite, it either makes Superman's powers uncontrollable, which goes against everything that they're trying to do. They want to control him. Or it's been shown to allow him to transfer his powers to someone else, which that doesn't work here because they want Superman to work for him. So it was funny. I was laughing about it after, but man, he got me revved up because I'm like, you're blind. You're missing all the clues that they presented to you here. So my question here though is, where's my question here?
The very end.
Yeah, the soul fusing with him. Which one could it be? Could it possibly be Edge's father that they're infusing into him, or could it just be some great warrior or one of the defense council? Like, I'm curious what one they put in there, and then how many days? Because we know it takes time based on how submissive you are and the soul or whatever. They said it could take up to days. How long are we going to have before it's 100% taken over Superman here?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 4 episodes left, so there's 4 episodes of time that we can save him, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point. I mean, I think it's a really good question of, like, wondering which soul is in him. I'm wondering if they'll give us a little hint, like they didn't with the others when they did it with everyone in Smallville, but because it's Kal-El, I'm wondering if it'll be someone noticeable, like you said. I mean, possibly it could be Zeta, but it's probably someone. I'm assuming it's someone from the Eradicator, so we'll see.
Yeah.
What if they threw I'm just this way out to lunch here, but could it be someone we've known before, like Zod or somebody?
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. Throw Zod in there.
That would be hilarious.
And that's why he's got a beef against Kal-El, because, you know, he had a body and then he was stripped away again.
Oh, yeah. Well, after that, really, really great discussion, guys. This episode is just so awesome. I think we could probably go on and on about it, but we do have some favorite scenes out of it to play.
Shape out an eagle!
And chronologically, I had to reorder them because I came in last, but mine is actually first. You guys took some really good scenes again, but I think there's probably 6 or 7 ones we could have used from this episode easily. And then there's a bunch more that were so good, but there was no dialogue. It's just all music and visuals, but still, it's like, I could have used that too. The one that I went with, because I love the romance, I'm such a softie at heart, such a sap, I went back to when Lois and Clark are in the office late one night, and we see her starting to flirt with him. That I just love that moment. That was the initial spark of their relationship beginning. Beyond coworkers and teammates. So I'm going to play that one.
One of these dirtbags is our guy. I can feel it.
You're
really good at this.
Thanks.
I should get going.
What's the hurry? You got a big date?
No, nothing like that. Just, some Seinfeld reruns. Heat up some frozen chicken nuggets. Yeah.
You've been a really big help, Clark. If you want, I can probably talk to Perry about you getting a beat of your own. Like local politics or something.
Oh. No, it's okay. I'd rather be here.
For the story or the company?
I feel like that's a trick question.
Good night, Clark.
Good night, Lois.
Aw, see? And, I mean, it wasn't even what she was saying. She was even acting sexy. She's leaning over on the desk and got her shirt unbuttoned a little. Like, she was totally flirting with him. It was hilarious. Just, kind of blinking at him, and oh, yeah.
That was a good scene. I actually almost picked that one myself. That was my backup.
Yes.
Oh, good.
But the one I did choose while it was available was when Tal-Rho confronts Kal-El in the fortress.
Yes. And you were worried about being a little too long, Harley. It's actually only about 2 minutes, so it's not too bad.
Okay. It felt like it was 10, so
yeah,
I was going to let you use your judgment.
I cut it off at a certain point before the action starts, but we get the whole conversation, so here it is. Because it's too good. You can't cut it off.
My sons are not bargaining chips.
This device was created by Tal-Rho, one of Krypton's greatest scientists. It allows the user to navigate the resting mind of another.
You knew I'd be weak from my solar flare.
So I followed you here, where I could sift through your most precious memories.
To extort me?
No, Cal. To understand you. To understand what possible reason you could have to betray your heritage. To think it was all for a human family.
You know nothing about them.
I know enough. A human wife and twin boys, how woefully pedestrian. And you, stumbling through your daily life like some village idiot instead of a true son of Krypton.
I'm not the only one who kept my Kryptonian side hidden.
I did so out of strategy, not shame. To be a man of greatness and choose to be less speaks to the mediocrity of this world.
Whatever it is you want, threatening my family is not how you'll get it.
It's not a threat, Cal. I will destroy their lives by taking that thing you hold so dear, your secret, and shouting it for all the world to hear. Superman has a family.
No!
Then tell me another way. I appealed to you as a brother, and you attacked me. A Kryptonian, and you stole from me. A friend, and you destroyed everything I had built.
He is none of those things. Do not listen to him.
It is this man who has corrupted you. Just as he corrupted our mother.
I spoke with her, Laura. She believes there is still good in you.
Was this as she helped you plot to destroy Kryptonian lives?
The same lives that occupied innocent human beings.
Enough! I will not debate morality with this whisper. Here I stand, brother. Flesh and bone and beating heart, your true family. Join me. Of your own free will.
I can't let you do this.
Then I will make you suffer.
You hear the music just building, and it's Edge. I mean, some of the things he says, kind of, you're like, Superman did kind of deny him at every turn he got, and it just made Edge more angry each time. But some of the lines, he's like, "You're a village idiot," and like some of these lines, like, "Whoa." There, you guys these are fighting words. My gosh.
Yeah, you can really see his disdain for humanity in general.
Oh, he hates them. Yeah, completely hates them. But and it's just unfortunate that Clark was so weak then, because you could see he was also getting mad. Like, you do not threaten my family ever. But yeah, he just didn't have enough in him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to watch this episode probably 3 or 4 more times. It's just too good.
Well, we got a couple weeks to do that.
We do.
True.
Yeah.
All right, closing it out with the favorite scenes. I really thought this was a neat little scene. It's Kyle's apology to Lois.
Lois, hold up just a second. Listen, I wanted to apologize to you, for the way I've treated you this whole time.
It's okay, Kyle.
No, it's not. Look, I was wrong about damn near everything, but mostly I was wrong about you. You're good people, Lois. And I'm real happy you're part of this town.
Thank you.
Yeah, I liked that scene prior and this scene because we really get to see Kyle's heart and desire to help his town, help his family, and how that was just twisted by Edge. But it was really great to hear him apologize to Lois and thank her for being a part of Smallville. I like that growth. I like that he's just a stand-up guy, and this is the type of people that Edge has been turning on for years and years, and just to see that humanity that makes him who he is. So I really appreciated it.
And that scene we just played is what turned me around to being okay with them saving this family. And now Kyle's got a chance to be a hero now in his own way. And I like that. So I'm okay with it because of the writing of this episode. Just
Yeah.
Well done.
And that's kind of another reason I think maybe the two families might come together. I mean, they're the only two that really know more or less what's going on. I mean, the Cushings don't know about Clark being Superman, or at least not yet. Yeah, I think this was a step in the right direction to get Kyle and Lois at least on the same team.
Yeah, it's a good point. It could be the two families. You're stronger in numbers, stronger together. So
yeah.
They might. Awesome scenes, guys. Holy cow. All right, we're going to request you guys check out our Patreon page again, just to let you know that it's a good way to support the show and everything that we're doing and everything that we got coming up, because it's going to be a lot soon. So how you do that, just listen to this.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
Don't keep it to yourself now. Come on, baby, talk to us. It's feedback. Yeah.
You guys started bopping your heads at the exact same time in the exact same direction. Oh, man, that was hilarious. You both did in perfect unison. All right, let's kick it off with a Facebook comment from Faith McQuinn.
Faith says, well, damn, that's how you handle flashbacks. I was honestly underwhelmed with last week's episode, even though it was still pretty good. But this brought it all the way around. Loved every moment.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Next up is Daryl Washington, Harley.
I thought the entire reason to age up their children was to avoid having to write a baby into the show. Also, of course, because there is more drama in making them teenagers. I never watched Arrow, but what?
What?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Side note. But how often was Oliver's baby actually around?
Well, she didn't come around to the very end of the show, so not much.
Yeah, William was more grown up when we meet him, and Maya was 14, in the final season, and she was off screen with Felicity.
Yeah.
He closes out, if Superman is in fact turning evil, I wonder who might be able to help. His cousin, maybe.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
That would be a good connection. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Big surprise.
Right, next up is Comic Geek Kev, and he says, you will believe a man can fly and look great in spandex. I'm so glad we had this opportunity to go back and see some of the history of these Kents, and I'm glad it was done later and not in the first episode. We already know them as a couple today, and seeing the backstory now is way more interesting to me. I do like the timing of it. I agree with him there. It was also nice to see more of Martha. One of the few things I didn't really like was we never had Jonathan and Martha was taken away immediately. The Kents are obviously central to the Superman mythos, as we see from Edge. Clark easily could have turned out much differently had he not been found by them. Yes, so true. I love that Lois was unimpressed by Superman and fell in love with Clark.
Yes.
And who wouldn't? Hoagland's Clark is the best since Reeve. He is doing such a good job with it. Yep. I hope these were real memories, at least until Edge appears. We all knew he wasn't done, but this was a great way to pull him back in and makes the episode title make perfect sense. Although I would have liked to see more of their past. Yeah, I mean, we were so... What's that?
I said I think the memories were real. You could see them continuing on even though Clark was getting pulled out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The memories for sure were real, but I'm totally with them. Like, I could have done the whole episode of just this flashback stuff.
That's what I thought we were getting.
You jinxed it, Harley. It's your fault.
This was amazing. I'm not... whatever.
No, totally. I could have watched a whole episode of just memories, but it ended up being just as amazing. Anyway, I gave it a 10. Come on.
No, I know.
So he goes on, he says, Lara married that guy? I know they are matched, but ugh.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly.
Wow. And he looked really old and decrepit too. He was not in good shape at that point. So Lois calls John Henry Irons, but not Kara? Valid question. Obviously, we know how this will eventually turn out. It's Superman's show after all. What I'd love to see is the boys, both of them, be the ones to save the day. Clark didn't have them on Irons' Earth. They also don't have to be the ones to help him. Okay. Yeah, I wonder about that. I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know what Jonathan could do. He could be the distraction, maybe. Well, Jordan runs
the bait.
The bait. Yeah. I want to quickly bring up something about last week's podcast. Flash didn't score it as high as many of the others, and listening to his reasoning, I actually agree, even though I rated it higher. I tend to see this show through Rao-colored glasses. Not a typo. Laugh out loud. Oh, Rao. Haha. It's so damn good, I can forgive some flaws. I guess I wouldn't be a very good TV critic. I'm not impartial. I've pointed out deep flaws with Flash, Legends, and Supergirl this season, even though I do like them. Well, Legends has had some really bad episodes. But Superman and Lois may be getting more of a pass than it should, and I'm totally fine doing it.
With you.
9.8 out of 10, classic costumes. The rest of the season promises to be... What is that?
Fire.
Blazing fire?
Fire.
Hot, I guess. Comic Geek Kev. Well, I appreciate the little bit of week later support. Thanks, Kev. Awesome stuff so far. Next up is a voicemail from Dreamweaver. She beat Perry White this week.
Hey there, Superfam. Dreamweaver here with my feedback for Superman and Lois, episode 11. A brief reminiscence between cataclysmic events, which is still a great title in my opinion. I'm going to give this 8.5 classic Superman references out of 10. Even though Superman is not my favorite DC character, all the flashback stuff was making me so giddy. It was so classic DC. Like, when I think of DC, when I think of the Justice League, my mind typically, even now with so much modern and contemporary stuff, flashes to the golden age, old school, retro-futuristic look, that Tomorrowland-esque Diesel and Atom Punk style. The iconic looks of the gold Daily Planet logo and Hall of Justice. That's how I associate classic DC, and all the flashbacks felt like that, yet still set in modern times. There were so many references, from the phone booth change to the bird plane line to watching Clark back in his first old school suit. Those flashbacks were so cool, and I honestly would have rated this episode just a little bit higher if the whole episode was a flashback episode. Seeing Clark and Lois meet and more of the beginnings of their relationship was really nice. And I know we've seen this part of the Superman mythos done in countless other Superman media, but I really wanted to see more of Tyler Hoechlin and Bitsy Tulloch's early Clark and Lois in Metropolis. These two are killing it. They are officially my Superman and Lois. And that's coming from someone who mostly only likes Superman in the animated stuff. Hey, I didn't know Carrie was going to be in this episode. You know, you're kind of a stickler of a boss. I guess you gotta be when you need to meet your deadline. It was really nice to see Martha again, albeit briefly, and get to see her give Clark his first suit and to see her meet Lois. I love that they brought all the flashbacks from the pilot back around in this. That was so neat. Okay, so I tried to piece together a timeline of what the present is on this show, when it takes place, because this episode gave a few context clues. Young Edge, when he creates his fortress, says it's 1987. IMDb puts that actor at 19 in this scene. It literally says 19-year-old Edge. And if we keep to it being 2021, or, you know, roughly around now, 2020 maybe, that would put Edge in his 50s, which seems right. When Clark returns to Smallville, the movie theater where he goes to see Lana is playing a double feature of Harry Potter and Friday Night Lights. Friday Night Lights came out in 2004, which makes that Harry Potter film, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and Clark moving to Metropolis and meeting Lois probably wasn't that long after. And 2004 was 17 years ago. Give it a few years for them to get married and get pregnant, since we know the boys are 14, and that pretty much puts us in modern day. So I'm squarely saying that this show is in the present, not in the future. So I guess Crisis not only gave them twins, but gave them teenage twins. So there we go. So a bunch of us in the Facebook chat, while we were watching live, thought that the glitches during the bedroom scene were our TV feeds. But it was really glitches from Jor-El trying to wake Clark up to get him out of there and out of his memories. There were multiple subtle moments of that throughout the episode that didn't really notice until Clark repeated a line twice and we all thought our TV feeds were getting messed up. And not good. Edge has got the upper hand in knowing more about and having access to Kryptonian technology and now knows pretty much everything about Clark. But I will circle back to this, and I feel that trip into Clark's mind might affect Edge in an unexpected way. Oh, but whoops, I was an episode early for calling Clark getting affected by the Eradicator. Just didn't see it happening this way. This is really going to be tricky the next few episodes. John Irons is coming back, and I did, despite the serious nature of what was going on, had to chuckle just a bit that Lois called him on a landline, because who has those anymore? Even in Smallville. And how are they getting out of this one? I can see this possibly going a few ways to get Clark back. Since this show has been so focused on family, I wonder if Jordan's powers are going to grow and he'll solar flare the Eradicator to save his dad, since we've seen that works. Or I wonder if some little things that seem to be just side stories early in the season will circle back and end up being something of foreshadowing. For example, the effect they used when showing Clark being taken over by the Eradicator, Ray and Edge's fortress, that glowing head thing, was very similar, if not the exact same effect as when Clark got hit by Kilgrave's sonic gun back in episode 4. Maybe that will be brought back in a possible way to separate Clark's mind if they can't use the Eradicator. And then back to Edge. In Clark's fortress, he was screaming at Clark, pleading for him to join him willingly, since he probably knew what the alternative was. He kind of vulnerably wants his brother to be with him, and he wants his mother and other Kryptonians. And he kept talking about how Clark's weakness is his family, and how pathetic it is to want a family, but really I feel that's Edge's biggest motive. He has a desire for a family. He has a desire for what Clark has. If not for a human family, but a family nonetheless. But it got twisted under his father's plan for him in Earth. His father said wanting others is weakness, and that Edge needs only him when he asked if any other Kryptonians came with him. Edge just wants a family, but his own family twisted what exactly that means to him. And as I was saying earlier, I have a feeling him seeing Clark's memories may affect him more than he realizes moving forward. Maybe he learns a bit more of empathy along the way. But I don't see him fully turning around. I see him going down, still desperately clinging to his mission, because it's all he's known for so long. I can't believe we got another break already. It feels like the show just came back. Can't wait to see where this goes. Until next time, your friend Dreamweaver.
Good thoughts. I like that thought about Morgan getting affected by Superman's thoughts. So I love that idea. Love it.
Well, it'd be like a reverse of what they're trying to do to him. They're trying to convert him to their side, so of course the good should affect him a little bit. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of effects, we forgot to mention, did you guys, I think everybody the world over got that special effects glitch that was actually in the episode. It was an unfinished effects shot when the desert fortress was rising up out of the ground. Because you could see the countdown timer, you could see the effects company and the name and the title and the copyright data. It was all in there. Did you guys see that in your live feed?
No. And it's definitely not on my iTunes copy either.
Yeah, because I think that if you look it up, there's tons of websites that are poking fun at it right now that they're saying, oh, when you send the wrong shot into post-production or something like that, because it's the scene when you see Edge building his fortress and it's a distance shot and all the cliffs are rising out of the desert, it's got all this data on the screen and what's going on here? That's the wrong shot. It was an incomplete shot, so it was crazy.
I did not notice that.
I'll send you guys a screenshot of it. Funny stuff. But good thoughts as always, Dreamweaver. She's pretty funny. She's got some good humor in there.
Always.
Next up is Perry White.
Hello, Flash, Harley, and X-Force 11. It's your intrepid reporter friend, Perry White, here with feedback for Superman and Lois' episode, A Brief Reminiscence. Yeah, I'm not going to say the rest of it because it's not brief at all. First thing, let me get this out of the way. I'm going to give this rating a 10.
Yes.
There doesn't seem to need to be any reason to hold back on high scores because the writers, producers, and directors have not decided to hold back on any story. So if they're not going to hold back, I'm not going to hold back either. With that being said, this episode was, in my opinion, it was a perfect episode. Right off the bat, you get the Superman and Lois. Well, let me take that back. You get the love story of Clark and Lois. And I thought that was incredibly important because it was so refreshing and so nice to see that Lois fell in love with Clark first. You don't always get that in sort of the Superman and Lois story. It's usually the sort of awe of Superman and then sort of the revelation that it's the same person, and she sort of grows to love Clark as well. But it's really nice to see that what makes Clark special is essentially, obviously, what makes Superman special, and that's who she fell in love with first, and that was just really fantastic. This episode was just sort of like golden age nostalgic Superman from his early days, from his mom giving him the suit, from his visit to the fortress, to training with Jor-El. I'm not one of those people that looks at sort of like the DC extended universe and their Superman and say, well, that Superman is not necessarily the Golden Age Superman. It's not the Superman that inspires hope. I like Henry Cavill's Superman myself personally. I even like his Clark Kent. But there is no denying that the writers and producers of this show have gotten this Superman, the Golden Age Superman, nearly perfect. And if nothing else, it's just sort of nice to see the difference in the two. I know DC always tries to make sure that it separates its entities, particularly its movie entities, from its television entities. And whether you agree with that or not, it's just nice to see that this Superman is the sort of one that most people of my age in particular grew up with. It's the hopeful, it's the helpful, it's the golden age Superman that we love, and I love the fact that we get to see more of that on screen here. The really great thing about this episode is the overarching theme and narrative for this first season has been sort of John Henry Irons' fear that we were going to get an evil Superman, and obviously it was his sole mission and sole purpose to stop that. And what we felt all along, at least I know what I felt all along, was it was going to be Clark and his family that kept him from turning evil. It was just really impressive the way that they flipped the script and sort of made it that it was his love for his family and trying to keep them from danger that ultimately is what led to and what is leading to his turn as quote-unquote evil Superman. I think we've known all along that, like, Superman's weakness has always been kryptonite, right? But I think his greatest strength and his greatest vulnerability has always been humanity. And obviously with this show, most importantly, that strength as well as that vulnerability has been his family. And it was sort of staring us right in the face from the very beginning. And if there was going to be anything that was going to lead Superman to this turn toward helping Morgan Edge in his dastardly plan, it would have been preying on that vulnerability that would lead him there. And I thought the show did an excellent job of turning those screws, man, and it was just incredible to see on screen. One of the things, and I know I said I rated this episode a 10, and I wouldn't necessarily call these nitpicks, but these are sort of things that I thought could have made the episode even stronger. Obviously, what we've had is Morgan Edge trying to appeal to Superman, Kal-El, trying to appeal to his sense of Kryptonian family and why it's so important that he choose Kryptonians over humans. The one flaw, or the one sort of error in that, in my opinion, is, as viewers, we have not had enough time to generate the kind of sympathy with Morgan Edge that I think is necessary for us as a viewer to say, well, you know what, maybe he's got a point. I mean, they've shown a few flashbacks to a degree, obviously, showing Morgan Edge's childhood and what he's had to deal with, both from humanity and obviously in this episode, sort of, I guess, the manipulation that's been put upon him by his father. And it may be that in coming episodes we get to sort of spend more time and see how his childhood and his parenthood have made him the person that he is. I just think that if we had seen more of that, had spent more time seeing that from his point of view, I think his call upon Kal-El to join him would ring a bit more true. But again, like I said, it's not a nitpick. It's just something that I think if they had done that a little bit more, we would have probably all been able to say, well, I sympathize with Morgan Edge, and I certainly see his point of view. But like I said, that's just a very small thing. One of the things that also sort of intrigued me was at the end of the episode when, obviously, Lois got home with the boys, and she made a phone call to John Henry Irons and basically said that what he had feared and what everyone had feared was sort of coming to pass. I can only hope that the two of them have had some sort of off-screen conversations that basically say, hey, even if he turns evil, our game plan isn't that we have to kill him. Our game plan is that somehow we have to sort of get him to switch back. Because if they have not had those off-screen conversations, and as viewers, I don't know that we've had any sort of hint of that, but without any of that, I mean, if Lois calls John and says, what we feared is happening, then my guess is his game plan is going to be, well, we've got to put Superman down. And I don't know if that's going to be a conflict between the two of them, or if they had some sort of off-screen conversations that basically says, this is how we're going to try to address this in a non-fatal way. I guess we're going to find out in the episodes that come. And again, one of the better things about this show is, while they may be putting almost every sort of idea and story and arc out there on screen, they seem to sort of be emptying the bucket with, in terms of storylines with this show. It always seems to be leading to more. It's not a situation where they do something and we're sort of like left with, well, what the hell are they going to do now? There really isn't anything left for them to do. There's just so much more that I am incredibly excited to see about this show, and they've done a fantastic job. Unfortunately, we've got to wait a few weeks to see how this all plays out. But of course, we get a preview that we're going to get our very own John Diggle in the next episode. So I'm really excited to see his interactions with Lois and how they try to go about and obviously solve this incredibly huge problem that they have. Like I said, I'm giving this episode a 10. It was darn near perfect. There's no need to downgrade it to a 9.99. It was darn near perfection, so I'm giving it a 10. I am looking forward to hearing what everyone else has to say about this episode. It's your intrepid reporter, Perry White, making his deadline one more time, and as long as this show keeps doing what it's doing, I'll be making my deadline plenty more times. I'm out.
Nice.
Good stuff there, Perry White. I'm just going to go way back to early in his message there. He's talking about the difference between this Superman we're getting and how it's more like the Golden Age Superman to the ones that we've been getting more recently, especially in the movies. Much darker, grittier. And I have to say, I think I'm in agreement with him, because that's been a debate a lot recently with the Superman, with the ones that were in the new movies, Zack Snyder version, like Superman would never kill anybody and he gets mad, and there's a lot of big differences. It's been so dark and moody when Superman is supposed to be this shining beacon of hope. Like, he's a ray of sunshine. He's his symbol, the S stands for hope. So if you take hope away from Superman by making him dark and twisted and willing to kill, he's no longer Superman. And that's something I've always personally felt about the new. As much as I enjoy the movies, it's just they've lost what made Superman who he is for the last 70 years, is the hope that everybody looks up to, the hope that he brings to this planet, that he can save us, all that kind of stuff. And that's why I think this show is just a small part of why the show is so successful and so well done, because they brought that hope and that lightness back to it. And just when you see Tyler Hoechlin perform, the big smile and it brings all of that back. I know Carrie said it a lot more in depth than I did, but I just want to say I agree with that point a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Good points.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Perry. Last up, we got an email from Dad-L.
Right. Hello, Superfam. I thought this was going to be a pure flashback episode to give us some time to breathe after last week's episode, but I was wrong again. What I thought was a happy trip down memory lane turned into Clark's worst nightmare. I thought the shadowy figure appearing in Clark's memory was Jor-El trying to reach out to him while he was unconscious.
Oh,
but
cool.
But no. Tal-Rho has found out Clark's secret and left him with no choice. Superman always finds a way out, but not this time. He was almost out of power and completely out of options. I never thought that we would reach this point. Superman is under Tal's control, and Lois has to call up Irons. The question is, how will they bring Superman back? Will his love for his family be enough? Jor-El can't help them, and Irons will want to likely use drastic measures. In the comics, Superman had a plan in case someone gained control over him. He gave Batman a kryptonite ring so he could be stopped. While we don't have that in this universe, General Lane has some kryptonite weapons and will be willing to see a lot more. And that we will be willing to see a lot more of. One final thought. I was thrilled to see the Fleischer-inspired suit again. I'm glad that the animated incarnation is getting some love in live action. I give this episode 9.5 never-ending twists and turns. Dad-El, last father of Krypton.
Excellent points, Dad-El. Yeah, it's... how will they bring Superman back? That's the big question. And
it is.
Yeah, yep. I have such faith in these writers. It's not going to be something cheesy. I sure hope not. It's not going to be a quick solution. Let's power up a stone and create a solar flare. Let's see. They got 4 episodes to figure it out, and I have a feeling. And this could be the tragedy that Harley thinks I so badly want. Maybe they don't win him back right away. It takes 4 episodes to get him back.
I think that you stated that you wanted it.
That was just a mind control device, that's all. Yeah, but good stuff, Irby. Good stuff as always. So if you would like to send in feedback just like these fine folks did, follow this.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegendspodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter @tomorrowslegends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
And that wraps us for a couple weeks on Superman. Lois.
It does.
Yep. And to refresh, Legends is off for a week now too.
So we have Legends with Diggles on Sunday, and then we're off. For a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're off for the U.S. July 4th and Canadian July 1st holiday.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Nobody cares about Canada Day. Just us Canadians. Good stuff. Okay, so we do have one more coming at you this weekend. So hopefully you guys are there for that. We'll have to see what is it going to tell us what happens next with Legends after that weird mid-season finale? We don't know.
Who knows?
But now we're left waiting to hang on this one. Our last image in our head is Superman evil with red burning eyes staring right at us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome stuff, guys. Fantastic episode. I love that everyone loved it. High ratings all around. Let's hope they keep it up. Have a good weekend, guys. This is The Flash signing off.
This is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network.